We've been in the business now for about 46 years. The majority of our business is railroad. We are starting to diversify a little more now that Jim and Chris took over the company, spreading our wings and getting into other markets. What you see over here, these are EMD gear cases. This is probably one of our biggest sellers. We go through thousands and thousands of these a year. These cases here have just gotten welded. They're sitting here waiting to get to grinding to be cleaned and processed for paint and shipping. We keep a large inventory of these gear cases in stock because when the railroads call, they got a demand for them and they want them as quick as we can get them to them. So we try to keep as many of the more popular ones in stock as we can. Generally, we have a hard time keeping them in stock. That's how busy we are with this stuff. Right here is kind of where it all starts. Our steel comes in. These guys catalog it. Todd catalogs it in the computer. He gives it lot numbers. Steel goes on this rack according to size, type of material, different grades of material, size. Todd in here, he takes and he nests all this material on the computer. He'll lay out the size of the sheet of the steel, and he'll nest it so he can get as many parts out of that piece of steel as he can. Whether it all be for the same gear case, or maybe he'll make other parts for other gear cases just because he has room for it. That's what it looks like after he cuts it. That was a solid piece of steel. That there is basically all scrap now. We'll scrap that. After he gets done burning this stuff, we just kind of stage stuff along here depending on what it is. What you're seeing here is a lot of plow material right now. Some of them down there are wrappers for gear cases. They'll sit here until we're ready to move on this project, and then the grinders will come and take this stuff and they'll clean any of the slag or mill scale that's on there. And then from there, like talking about plows, they'll go from them grinders and we'll bring them up here to this 220-pound brake press. We can bend up to 5/8 thick steel on that into a 90. That machine's a beast. And the shields, we roll all our own shields. We got templates. Them templates are for all different plows there. We lay them on the shield, we paint it out, and you hit them right on them dots. You got certain numbers you use that'll push down so far, and it'll actually form that shield the way you want it. Over here is our AccuPress. A little bit smaller than that guy. That one's 220 tons, this one's 110 tons. We do a lot more of our intricate parts, smaller parts. We do a lot of the bending on here. This is all computerized. You enter a program in there, it'll pull up that program, and then your offsets in the back will adjust for whatever your depth of your bend is. So if you got a part, if you come over here, you can probably see what he's doing here. He'll enter his product and he'll enter up his code into there, and that thing in the back will move. He makes his first bend. When that upper die comes all the way down, it'll make it go to its next bend. That thing is constantly moving to adjust for every bend he makes, which is really nice. On the other machine, it's all manual. You got to do it by hand. He's just got to make sure it's squared up on that backstop so he gets a straight bend across there. Once he gets it, you can see on his table here, he's got this piece of paper. We've actually drawn up what that wrapper should look like when he's done. You can lay it on there and compare it to that and make sure it's bent right. Over here is this burn table's down. We had the wheels go bad on here. We had to send the wheels out to get fixed. Generally, this is filled with water almost right to the top. And it's got that grate on there. All these little parts, these are the things that drop out from the gussets and whatnot. If you look down inside there, all that stuff in there, it looks like mud. That's what it is. It's mud. It's nasty. It's dirty. About once a month, we got to pull these apart, get in there with a shovel, clean it out, throw it in the hopper, and bring it out and get rid of it. It's a dirty process, but I got a couple of guys that really love climbing around in there doing that. So.
What do? You cut big stuff out. You just leave all this in there. What if it's not level and you put an iron piece? You got to take all these out on top, or what? Just
no, actually, this is a second layer. This is just to catch all this from going all the way to the bottom. Gotcha. There's another table that goes up above this. These things drop through that table and they'll just sit on this grate.
I suppose it piles up pretty fast, all the cutouts.
It can, yep. That's why at least once a month we got to tear it apart and look at it. A lot of this bar stock and round stock material we have here, and even some real flat stuff we use for trim. This saw is it's also computer run. You enter your program. If it tells you to cut a part at 5 inches, it automatically feeds it. It'll feed it to 5 inches and cut it. and just keep feeding and cutting until you tell it to stop. Or you can set how many parts you want. If you want 100 parts, you enter 100 parts, it'll run 100 cycles and stop. These here are GE gear cases, General Electric gear cases. GE builds a lot of trains. These are older cases. They're not, how do you say it? They're not obsolete, but for a long time when GE makes a gear case, we're not allowed to build them. It's their case. After so many years that this case is on the market, we can go after it, design it ourselves, make it. We're an aftermarket. These are aftermarket. Our price compared to GE's price generally way significantly less. That's why they buy them from us. Quality is the same. These cases get all welded together. They come over here to Rich. Rich is running the first op on these right now. He mills this whole top surface down, drills and taps all these holes. Is this 2 or 3 op? This is a 2 op case. After he's done with them, generally they'll go over to Josh and get op 20 done on them, which is he'll tap in more of this. They lay on their side, and he'll put there'll be an actual groove in here for a I don't know if it's a felt ring or a plastic seal that goes in there. Some are felt, some are plastic. Most of them are plastic nowadays. But these are our like top dollar gear case. These are expensive. This 1/2 is probably, just guessing, it's probably 2 to 3 times more expensive than a complete set of EMDs, right? Generally. A lot more material, a lot more work go into these. That's the way it works. When these things become available for us to make and the OEM builder allows us to, we take these and try to remanufacture or redesign them and build them with our capabilities, and then we sell them for less than they do, you know. So. But this one's in the process. It's going to be a big seller once we get it nailed down. We'll be selling lots and lots of these. It's for a newer train. See, the newer trains, they go so long before we're allowed to build parts for them. Usually 20 to 30 years. So the train that this goes on is probably a 20 or 30-year-old train. But they last for a long, long time, and there's trains that are still on the tracks that are probably 60, 70, 80 years old. All these are different fixtures the guys use in the machines. All the different gear cases, they have different mounting places, so they have to have different fixtures to put them in the machine and machine them. There's quite a few of them. These things here are wheel lathes. These are really interesting. These are a portable wheel lathe that they actually take out on the tracks. Trains, after stopping so many times, their wheel will actually develop a flat spot in it, and then it makes it not safe to operate. They can take this right out on the track. They lift that wheel set up in the air, and they get this underneath it, and they mount it to the track. And they hook the train up to a welder to power the wheels. The wheels will turn, and this thing just goes in there, and it profiles that wheel, trues it up so he gets that flat spot out of there. Saves them a lot of time. They like that. They don't have to bring it back to the roundhouse. They can fix it right on the tracks. We sell a lot of these. That's an older model. This is our new model. We just come out with this one about a year and a half ago or so. Seems to be real popular. Guys like them. These are a couple that a guy sent back for us just to tighten everything up. Over years of using them, you know, they get used and abused, and with that wheel running on them like that, there's a lot of pressure and everything. So every once in a while, they'll send them back. We'll clean them up, change out some bearings and everything, send them back to them. Real expensive piece of equipment.
How heavy is that one of them?
It's pretty heavy. It's a 2-man job to lift them. We actually designed them. As you can see, the old ones, they really didn't have, they had some slots there, and the guys were using their hands to pick them up. But we designed this so you can actually run a solid bar through here, and then you can just grab it from the side, a guy on each side, and pick it right up. They're heavy once they're all assembled. Anyway, all them parts that we were talking about over there, the wrappers, what you seen Earl bending on the little press, that's these. What they do is they bring all this stuff over here. He's got his panels. He'll put this ring on here, and then that gets clamped down. He puts these panels on. He assembles the whole thing, and then he tacks it together. He'll tack about 15 of these together and put them on a pallet. We do them about, you know, there'd be 3 on the bottom and then another row of 3. We do them about 5 high, so there's 15 of them on there. And then they set off to the side, and then as these guys that are welding them get done with the stack they're doing, they'll haul that back to the grinders, and they'll grab another fresh stack of cases and start welding on them. These are all different fixtures he uses for putting the gear cases together. I mean, Some of these cases will do 2 or 3 different types of cases, different style or different numbered cases. But as you can see, we got a lot of, these are just for the EMDs, these ones. Anyway, we bring all these back here and these guys will clean them up. That's what Dylan does. He takes these cases, he cleans them up, grinds down these welds here and here, cleans all the BBs and spatter off of them. Then they'll come over here to Timmy. Timmy sizes them. When you weld them, they twist a little bit. The heat makes them move. He's got a square. He makes sure they're square. He makes measurements, makes sure they're not too narrow or too wide. If they're too wide, he hits them with a hammer and pushes it back. If they're too narrow, he takes this ram here, he pushes it on the inside and he spreads it out. Got to make sure that they're all uniform because this case is going to mate to a lower and they got to be able to fit together properly. Being a production shop, everything is about speed, and it's, you know, everything's got to have a flow. If you don't have a flow, we moved over here about 2 years ago and it took us a little while to get it figured out. I mean, there were some times I was really scratching my head going, why aren't we getting this stuff done? But we didn't have a really good flow going, and we're ironing it out. We still got some growing pains. We're making some moves, but it's getting better every day. He hangs a lot of stuff on this rack. He'll paint it. He'll hang these caps. These are caps that go on the gear case. He'll let them hang there to dry. Here's one thing that I always get really, really mad about. This case is painted, and it got all the way to paint, and we found we missed a weld on it. So now we got to take it out of there, clean that paint up, re-weld it, rework. Rework is a bad thing in production. They get paid for it, but they get yelled at too. It's just discouraging to get that far, and you know then the guy's got to go back and clean all that paint off of there and re-weld it, and then they got to clean it again and repaint it again, and you're just putting more work into it than you need to. And there's actually a process for that. The welders should be double checking everything they weld, verifying that they have all the welds they need to have on them cases on there. And granted, you're going to miss some sometimes. But then it'll go to the grinders, and the grinders are supposed to kind of look that case over too and make sure that all the welds are on there. And they miss it sometimes too. Then it goes to that sizer, and he's supposed to look, and you can see it still makes it to paint sometimes. We have a process to catch it, and usually we do, but sometimes they get by on you. These plows it's similar to the gear cases. We got fixtures for these. All these parts are put on that fixture. They're tacked together. The guy that tacks them takes them, sets them over here. These guys pick them up over here. They put them on this rotisserie and they finish weld them. This rotisserie's got a switch on it, so you can turn this thing any position you want to get the perfect weld on it. You can flip it right upside down to weld on the bottom if you want. It works really neat. This rotisserie is something we designed in-house. We got a couple of them. These are all different plows that we got in process right now. A lot of them look the same, but a lot of them, they're not. I think we do 35 different types of plows. Anything from these great big things to that thing right there. They call that a little bumper plow. They put them on the trains too. We do some real thin gauge ones for Amtrak. I don't have any on the floor right now, but they're only made out of 1/4-inch steel, where this stuff is 1/2 inch to 3/8. This is all bent right here. That's what I was talking about with the templates, with the paint. That's where you hit that with that press. Every one of them dots. And then we got it written down as to how much pressure we use and what numbers to set that press at. So you just hit them numbers at that, and almost always come out perfect. Not always, but almost always. Some of them go on pallets, some of them don't. Certain customers prefer them on pallets. These ones are going on pallets. We have these pallets specially made for this. I have a company that makes them, they bring them in, we put them on the pallets, and we ship them out to the customer.